All right, some definitions and brief explanations. A schema is a mental structure. A schema is the pattern that you store in your mind, and it helps you identify, recognize whatever situation or setting that you happen to be in. So if I went into a restaurant where I've never been before, I would be able to figure out that I was in a restaurant because I have a schema for restaurants. I've been in other restaurants and I've assembled this template in my mind so that I can identify myself in a future situation like that. Perception refers to our five senses. Perception is the barrier between ourselves and the actual world. Our perceptions are the only access that we have to the actual world, and so they are very limited, and our understanding of the world is limited by our perceptions. Mindfulness is a term borrowed from Buddhism, and it's become very popular lately. It means paying close attention or cognitive focus, mindfulness. Not to be confused with mindlessness. Mindlessness refers to your ability to perform tasks without needing to stop and think about it. So most people, when they tie their shoes, they don't need to stop and draw on the schema that they may have for tying their sneakers. They simply do it, and they've done it so many times that they don't need to stop and think about it. It's just automatic. Mindlessness. Undue influence refers to whatever pressure I can bring to bear on another person based on my power over them, basically. So if I'm your boss and I'm asking you for a favor, the undue influence is the fact that I'm your boss, and so you're going to feel pressured to do something or to complete the favor for me, loan me money or whatever it is. That is undue influence. The fundamental attribution error. This is our tendency to blame the bad things that happen in life on other people. So when we fail at something, when something goes wrong, the tendency is that we will blame others. Not to be confused with the self-serving bias. The self-serving bias refers to our tendency to take credit when all of the good or positive things happen in life. So when things go wrong, the fundamental attribution error causes us to blame others, and when they go right, the self-serving bias is what causes us to want to take all the responsibility for those good things. Interactive appearance theory. Interactive appearance theory refers to the phenomena that occurs over time when people are around each other. They will either become more attracted to each other or less attracted to each other. This happens to be the reason that most extramarital affairs occur at work. It's because people are around each other, in many cases more often than they are in the home with their spouses. And so the person that maybe they paid no attention to, over time they start to realize they have things in common, and I kind of like how they do this and how they say this, and you start to notice all the subtleties that may not have been present when you made your initial contact with the person. Cultural myopia. Cultural myopia is the inability to see other cultures as being equivalent to your own. And the reason for that is because we are all products of our own cultures. And so we are going to tend to believe that our own cultures are superior to the rest. They're not necessarily superior. It's just that we are more comfortable in them because we are products of them. Stereotyping. Stereotyping is when you place people into schemas. So perhaps I see someone who is dressed ethnically and they're in a downtown area. Maybe as a Good Samaritan, I would be compelled to want to approach them and see if they needed directions or if they were lost or something like this. And maybe it's just someone who wears a traditional dress but grew up 10 miles away from where I did. And so that stereotype did not work. Stereotypes exist because there's a kernel of truth to them. And in most cases with stereotyping, generally speaking, they're effective. And the reason we rely on stereotypes is because we are trying to economize on information. Prejudice, or to prejudge, means holding a determination about another person or a situation or a thing, a concept, an object, without sufficient reason or evidence. So I have simply prejudged it. I've made a determination about it with insufficient information. Self-esteem refers to your opinion of yourself. How do you feel about yourself? Do you have great confidence? And you can tell someone who has high self-esteem, usually they appear very confident, their chin is up and their chest is out, and they're very assertive and outgoing, and more toward the type A end of the personality scale. Not to be confused with self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is one's ability to attain the desired result. So I may have great self-esteem. I think the world of myself. I'm very confident, but somehow I just don't have the ability to put it all together and go out and land the career that I want or the life that I want, because I would have low self-efficacy. A self-fulfilling prophecy is a prediction that you make about yourself that isn't true. However, because you believe it to be true, you actually will it to become true through your behavior. So if I believe that I'm really bad at certain things and I'm not going to be able to be successful in them, that's more likely to be the result because I believe it about myself to begin with. Now, it isn't necessarily true, but because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, my believing that it's true actually made it come true. I was more likely to find myself in that given scenario where I failed because I believed it about myself from the beginning. Disfluencies. Disfluencies are any of the stammers or staggers or the crutches that we use when we're speaking. The ums, the ands, like, you know, so, hang on a second, let me start over. Wait, what was that? All of those annoying things that are baked into our nervousness when we speak, those are referred to as disfluencies. And finally, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance simply means mental confusion. Dizzy would be the abbreviated form of dissonance, or a cousin term. Cognitive dissonance literally means mental confusion, and it's what occurs when we have two competing ideas about something. So if I felt that the death penalty was morally wrong, but someone gave me some points to demonstrate that it was morally right, well, I can't go around with both of those ideas in my head. I can't believe that it's morally right and morally wrong. It doesn't make sense. One of those ideas has to go. How do we arrive at cognitive dissonance? Typically in persuasion. Cognitive dissonance is the goal of the persuasive speaker. So you come into the auditorium and you have whatever idea it is that you believe to be true about the world. I'm going to give you my persuasive argument. I'm going to try to put my idea of the world in your head. And you're probably not going to be convinced by the time you leave the auditorium. That's almost impossible. But the idea is that if I have planted the seed, it will take root, and then over time, it will be in your head along with the original idea, and it will occur to you that it doesn't make sense to keep both of them. One of them will have to go, and if I've done my job as a persuasive speaker, it will be the original idea that you had that you toss. Cognitive dissonance.